Hello there. This is an old strop of mine. It's the first decent strop I ever had. It was made by a company called Star Shaving. They were a kind of mom and pop kind of business, one of the first ones I encountered, and they made wonderful strops and things of that nature. They closed, but they didn't close. I think maybe one of the owners died. They were elderly. And no one shut down the cart. And I lost $50 or so, something like that, from them because I purchased and they actually weren't in business, but the cart still took the money. And I never was able to get my money back on it. So they're defunct now. But this was a good strop. But I cut it and I tried repairing it. It actually does work. I just super glue. It actually does work, but I have other quality strops, and so I don't use this. I will eventually cut it here, and cut it here, and cut it along here and along the break on this end, and make a couple of different paddle strops out of this, the leather portion of this strop. But the inner portion of this strop is pasted with chromium oxide paste. But this is an old strop, and this chromium oxide has been on here 8 years or something like that, and it's not really doing anything anymore. People say, well, it'll be stuck in the cloth and the abrasives will still work. Well, they kind of sort of will, but after a while you have to kind of refresh that. This is Maggots chromium oxide paste, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to refresh this, and I'm just going to take just a little bit of that. Yeah, I know. People, oh, that's cancer causing. There's all kind of stuff in my life when I was growing up that they holler now was cancer causing. By the time anybody said anything to anybody about it, I'd already been exposed so much that it doesn't flipping matter. You can do what you want. This is the same kind of pigment they use in, I think it's chromium green. It's an oil-based paint for painting pictures, that kind of deal. It's been used for, oh good Lord, I wouldn't even begin to know how long, how many decades or 100 or more years that it probably has been used. And so I used to paint too, so my exposure to this stuff is, you know, that's like a guy that's been eating thick gobs of fat for 50 years and he's decided he's going to back off of it now. Well, dude, you do what you want, but I think you ate enough that it don't really matter. That's just me. Besides, a lot of that is California stuff, and California is not somebody that everything causes cancer in California. But I'm going to take the edge of a knife. This is a kitchen knife. It's actually one that I'm fixing to throw away because it's actually junk. It's an old sabatier, but it's a Chinese sabatier, and the thing of it is, that's a well-known, oh, by the way, this edge is dull as crap. I dulled it on a stone because I'm going to toss it in our dumpster up the hill, and I want to make sure it's as dull as it can possibly be. I bricked the living snot out of it because I don't want anyone somehow getting hurt downstream. But this is how I do it. Everybody has their own way. And so that right there It's way more than enough paste to last me another year or two or so before I have to paste this again. But that's the way that I do it now. You see that this had some chromium oxide paste on it. The first few times that you run a razor across this, you will have chromium oxide come off on the razor. It's a good practice, whether you see any or not, to take and make sure you wipe the blade really well before you move to your regular strop, or to, if you do like this one was done, and you move to the cloth side, the plain cloth side, before you do that, or before you move to the leather, you wipe that off. But that's it. What I'll do now is I will wash my hands as clean as I can get them and get all of this off. It'll take 10 minutes or so to truly get this off of here. It's not a big deal to me. So that is the way I paste a strop. You know, I know that there are guys that will take and mix it in oil, or they'll take and heat it up with a hair dryer and all kind of stuff to try to make it even or whatnot. Does not matter. That's more about looks. When you run a blade across that, chromium oxide is going to do its job. This is my 51 to Victor straight. This is one of the first straight razors that I found when I started looking for old vintage straight razors to restore. I'm wiping some oil off of it. This blade needs a bit of a touch-up, and I want to talk about that and offer you an option that used to get poo-pooed a lot, but now people are coming around to understand that there's a lot of different ways to do things, and this is a tried and true method that's been used for generations, particularly in Europe, and that is paste. If you don't have a lot of money, you don't have stones, you know, once your razor starts to tug or try to tug, you want to catch it as soon as you can, okay, before it gets really bad. Then the only other choice you got is to send it to somebody to have them refresh it, and that can get expensive depending on how many shaves you get on a razor. With me, I have several different razors, so I don't know how long it takes for a razor to start to tug, okay? But if I catch it soon enough so that I can feel the edge kind of trying to go, then all I need to do, this is a strop. You can do this in several different ways. I choose to do it like this most of the time. And I have a chromium oxide pasted strop. The back side of the cloth strop I've pasted with chromium oxide paste. So I'm going to take this Now, I recommend about 15 passes. I know there are people, oh, that's too much on a chrome. You use 7 passes or 3 passes or 5 passes. Well, this is what works for me, one. And number 2, I'm not doing the 3 passes on a chromium oxide paste, shaving it. Feels like crap, and let me try 3 more and yada, yada, yada. I want the job done so that I can move on with my shave. Okay, so now you want to wipe all of, because there will be a residue left on the blade. You want to wipe that off before moving to the cloth. I do about 30 on cloth. Then I come over here to the leather side. This strop has been damaged, so I will use this section of the strop. It doesn't matter. I don't have to have the whole length. You notice this is a narrow strop, so I'm making sure that I cover the whole edge of that blade. And whatever I do on the cloth side, I double on the leather side. So I did 30 here when my strap came loose. I did 30 here and 60 here. Actually, let's just let that hang for now. And that razor should be refreshed. If it still tugs and gives you a rough shave, then it needs to be rehoned. You can keep a razor going like this for a very long time, but there will come a point where constantly stropping it will convex the edge, and instead of the edge being like that, it'll do this. And then you can strop it on that all you want to. It will not come back to shaving sharp. You're going to have to send it off and have the bevels re-flattened and the thing re-apexed so that it can shave again. But you can keep one going a long time just with that and save yourself. Instead of having to have it honed 3 times a year, you might be able to have it honed once a year, or once every 18 months. Something like that. So, depending on how often you shave, how coarse your beard is, how, you know, all of the above, the kind of steel you have in your razor, a dozen other variables. Nobody will be able to tell you. Some guys can get a week out of one. Some guys can get 6 months out of one. Yada, yada, yada. Your mileage may vary, but that is a way to keep the razor shaving sharp for a very long time before you have to send it back and have it worked over again. All right. Bless you. Later.